Another year is in the books, and with that, it is time for me to give you guys my list for the top 10 best movies of 2016. I haven't dressed nice for this shit because you know what? We're talking about the best of the year. I'm gonna look my best. Now, before I give you guys my list for my 10 favorite movies of the year, just gonna say some quick things. Number one, these are not gonna be spoiler talks for each of these movies like I normally do. If you want to see my full spoiler-filled thoughts on these movies, I'll have annotations for each of them throughout this video. And also, keep in mind, despite what a lot of people may think out there, I haven't seen every single movie that came out in 2016. There were some movies out there like The Nice Guys and Kubo and the Two Strings that got really good reviews, but they just kind of slid under my radar, so I just didn't end up seeing them. And then there were other acclaimed movies like La La Land and Patriots Day that got a very limited release, and during their limited releases, they just weren't playing anywhere near me, so I couldn't see them either. Was really hoping I'd at least get to see Patriots Day before I did this list, but it is what it is. And finally, keep in mind, this is my personal list for the best movies of the year. The movies that are on this list may not show up on AFI's top 10 best list. The movies that are on this list may not be nominated for anything at the Oscars this year. Although I will say a few of the movies on this list should be nominated for something. That doesn't need to happen for a movie to make my top 10 best list. These are just the movies that hit me where I live and are the perfect reminders to why I love movies and love talking about movies on YouTube. Alright, that's everything I need to say right there. Now let's talk about my picks for the top 10 best movies of 2016. Starting off this list at number 10 is, conveniently, 10 Cloverfield Lane. 10 Cloverfield Lane is the perfect example to what a psychological horror thriller should be like. It had great tension, it had great suspense, it had some really creepy moments that put you on the edge of your seat and make the hair on the back of your neck just stand up. Everyone that was in this movie did a great job. John Goodman was fantastic as the monster of this movie. The movie had a great mystery to it, it really had you guessing a lot. I have yet to see Cloverfield, but I didn't need to love this movie. Next at number 9, we have Deepwater Horizon. Peter Berg has really shown us that the crazy real-life disasters that have happened in the world, he knows how to tell those stories in movies. Watching Deepwater Horizon, it's just insane that a situation like this actually happened. I mean, this movie was able to just bring the oil rig disaster to life so well. The movie had amazing sound editing and sound mixing and visual effects. It seriously looked like a ship was just blowing up and just falling apart right in front of me. The movie did a great job in showing people standing and grouping together when a situation like this is happening. It's definitely one of the heavier movies I saw this year, but it was also one of the best. At number 8, we have The Jungle Book. The Jungle Book was one of the movies I was most excited for this year, and it did not disappoint in the slightest. Neil Sethi did a great job as Mowgli in this movie. A lot was riding on him to really carry this movie as the only live-action human actor in this movie. All the voice acting in this movie was done so well. Each voice actor brought each animal to life perfectly. The movie just had great nostalgia to throw back to the original animated Jungle Book that came out forever ago. And in terms of visual effects, this is the best movie I have seen since Gravity. At number 7, we have The Edge of 17. Oh, holy shit, you know what I just realized? My number 10 movie of the year was 10 Cloverfield Lane. My number 7 movie of the year is The Edge of 17. Unintentional, I promise. The Edge of 17 was one of the most relatable movies I saw all year because it's a movie that perfectly embodies what high school is like for everybody. I mean, it touches on the social life and friendship and relationships and crushes. Why high school can be such a struggle for certain people. Why high school can be a breeze for other people. Haley Steinfeld was excellent in this movie. I didn't think I'd end up connecting with her character in this movie, but I absolutely did. Woody Harrelson was awesome as her teacher. It was a very different take to what teachers are generally seen as in high school movies. And in terms of coming-of-age high school movies, this is right up there with the best of them. It's no secret, 2016 was a very hit or miss year for certain movie genres. The animations this year I thought were fantastic, and my favorite animation of the year, that was Moana. The animation in Moana was absolutely beautiful. It was just done so well. I absolutely loved The Rock as Maui. I thought Ali Cravalho did great as Moana in her first ever movie role. It had great humor, great heart, amazing music. Animations that kids and adults are both gonna love are always gonna be appreciated by me. So Moana, you get number 6. Yeah, you all knew this movie was gonna make my list. Yeah, Rogue One, a Star Wars story. There are people out there who love the Star Wars prequels, and that's perfectly fine. But for me, the Star Wars prequels just weren't what I wanted them to be. This was the kind of Star Wars prequel that I know a lot of Star Wars fans were hoping for. The characters in this movie were all awesome. You really do end up growing attached to each and every one of them. It had a great villain. Darth Vader, when he was in the movie, he was awesome. It had great visuals, great action scenes, intense action scenes, in the fact that this is a war movie in a Star Wars movie. But above all, this was a movie that tied up the loose ends in the original Star Wars movie. Now when people watch the original Star Wars movie and they reflect on the questions they originally had about it, now there is reasoning for them. In the end, Rogue One was a great movie that made one of the greatest movies all time greater. How doesn't that make a top 10 best list? Every year, there's always a few movies that come out that critics just rave over. It's like, oh, it's a masterpiece, it's timeless, see it, it's one of the best movies of the year. And then usually we, the general audience, see it, and for the most part, we're all just like, yeah, that was good, but overhyped as shit. Arrival, however, is one of those cases where a movie actually lives up to that hype. Arrival was easily one of the most unique movies I saw all year. Amy Adams gave one of the best performances I've ever seen her in, and that's saying a lot because she's one of the best actresses in the business. The build-up for the movie, although it is a little slow, it gives you such an appreciation to what learning a language is like. It's just so amazing seeing Amy Adams in this movie, trying to find a way to communicate with the aliens, trying to understand their language. And then the ending of this movie was just one of the most mind-blowing twists I've seen in a movie in a while. I had no idea it was coming. It was a very different take on how science fiction movies usually go, and I see nothing wrong with that. Number 3 was probably the most impactful movie I saw all year, and that is Hacksaw Ridge. Similar to Deepwater Horizon, it's absolutely crazy a story like this actually happened. Andrew Garfield gave the greatest performance of his entire career. I seriously think he should be in the running for an Oscar. The first half of this movie really shows the struggles that Desmond Doss had to go through. It really shows the suffering, humiliation, and all the hardships that he had to go through because he wanted to join the army but didn't want to touch a weapon. And then the second half of this movie turns into an absolutely intense, mind-blowing war movie that just puts you on the edge of your seat, makes your heart stop, has you sitting there like, holy shit, dude. But it also does a great job in showing what Desmond Doss did single-handedly that made him one of the greatest war heroes ever. This movie just had great directing, great acting, it had the feels for sure. There were quite a few moments that nearly had me crying in this movie. It's just a movie that hit me straight to the core. The more I think about it, the more I just love it. And we can all say what we want about Mel Gibson the person. Mel Gibson the director, he's still got it. Now most movie reviewers will tell you the top 2, sometimes 3 movies are the ones that you debate over the most over which one should be the best movie of the year. I gotta tell you right now, the top 2 movies, I have been flipping back and forth between each other so many times in trying to figure out which one is my number 1. They were easily my 2 favorites. They were 2 that I was really looking forward to. They both met and surpassed my expectations. I had to think about it for a very long while, but finally I stopped and I thought to myself, which one's success meant more to me? In other words, I guess I could say, going into 2016, if I could only have picked one of these movies to be great, which one would I have picked for me? Once I had that answer, I knew which order to put these movies in, so here they are. My number 2 movie of 2016 is Deadpool. Deadpool was one of those superhero movies that we were all asking for a very long time, and finally we got it. The original test footage for this movie was awesome. It got all the fans excited. The red band trailers that came out for this movie got us all even more excited. And after watching this movie, I just could not be happier with how it turned out. Ryan Reynolds proved to everyone why he is the perfect role for Deadpool. He was sarcastic, he was an asshole, he was a lovable asshole, he was funny as hell, he was a great shit talker, he was everything that Deadpool needed to be. The movie had entertaining, action-packed, bloody as hell violence that I know everyone had a good time with. It had killer comedic writing. I loved Colossus. I loved Negasonic Teenage Warhead. It had a solid romance. The villain in this movie I thought did a good job. The movie knew exactly what it was, and it knew exactly what it had to be, and it did everything it needed to do. Deadpool is one of the funniest comedies I have ever seen. It's some of the most fun I have ever had in an action movie, and it is one of, if not the most original superhero movie I have ever seen. I cannot wait to see what the future holds for the Merc with the mouth. Okay, so those of you who watch my videos regularly are probably thinking, alright, either that movie's number one or it just didn't make the list at all. People will call me a biased fanboy. People will say I just suck Marvel's dick super hard. You know who has 2 thumbs and doesn't care? This guy. My number one movie of 2016 is Captain America Civil War. Captain America Civil War was my most anticipated movie of 2016. And it just so happens to also be my favorite movie of 2016. A lot was riding on this movie going into it, and it gave me, as a Marvel fan, everything I could have asked for. It had phenomenal action, definitely some of the best stunt work I've seen in a movie in quite a while. The visuals were great. All the superheroes that were in this movie all did a great job when they were in it. It gave us great new characters. I loved Chadwick Boseman as Black Panther. I really loved Tom Holland as Spider-Man. The fight scenes among the superheroes that happened in this movie, they are as entertaining as they get. Come on, that airport fight between Team Iron Man and Team Cap, easily the best throwdown we've ever had in the MCU to date. The movie had other throwdowns that were really dramatic and really intense. It had a lot of moments that were surprisingly emotional. But above all, what really sets this movie aside from a lot of superhero movies is this is a superhero movie that really makes you think. And I don't just mean whether you're going as Team Iron Man or Team Cap and you're flip-flopping between both sides because both sides have good points. But before this movie, we would all go into superhero movies, and when we saw the big throwdowns between the superheroes and the villains, we're just like, oh yeah, they're saving the world, they're saving the universe, you go guys. No, this movie makes you stop and wonder, are superheroes maybe causing more trouble than they are preventing trouble? It's something that was never really touched on in previous superhero movies, and this movie did that. And in the end, I love Marvel. I love the Marvel Cinematic Universe. I loved building up for this movie by talking about every movie in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. I saw this movie a couple of times in theaters. I've seen it a few more times since I got it on Blu-ray. I love this movie more every time I watch it. I went so far to say in my spoiler talk for Civil War that this was the best movie so far in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, and I stand by that. And for all those reasons, it's got to be my number one movie of 2016. So there it is, guys. That is my list for the top 10 best movies of 2016. So now it's over to you guys. Don't forget to leave a comment. Let me know what you guys thought of my top 10 best list. Let me know what your favorites of the year were. And also, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe. And I will see you all next time.